What's up everyone, I'm Sam from Team Sunny Days, and today's video is going to be on my pet deck in the modern format, Polymorph Breach. We've been working on this deck a little bit in the Discord, so if you want to come take a look, the Discord's free. There's going to be a link in the description for you to join. So the goal of this deck is to use ramp spells like Explore, Farseek, and Search for Tomorrow to get to 4 mana on turn 3. Your 4th land is going to be a Scalding Tarn, Bloodstained Mire, Arid Mesa, or Foothills, or Dwarven Mine. These can all get Dwarven Mines because they grab mountains. And Dwarven Mine is a land, it says, it enters the battlefield untapped if you control 3 or more other mountains, and when it enters the battlefield, you make a 1/1. You use this to cast your 4 mana polymorphs, which we have 7 of. Transmogrify is the new M21 polymorph. It allows us to no longer have to play blue if we want to play more polymorph effects. We can just be red-green now. Since we're now able to streamline our plan a little better, we can also have a stronger secondary game plan, which is going to be in the form of Primeval Titan and Valakut. All of our lands are mountains, so Valakut's going to be able to be triggered really quickly. Although we're going to have a little bit of trouble casting it, we have 4 Emrakul the Aeon's Torn in our deck. It's a very good card to put into play with Through the Breach, and because we have polymorphs in our deck, turn 3 Primeval Titan isn't going to be able to trigger our Valakuts. And when we untap with Primeval Titan, we really want to be able to kill our opponent that turn, which you really can't. With Emrakul is basically a win the game button if you're putting into play that early. Because Dwarven Mine tells us that we shouldn't be putting non-mountain lands in our deck, the only non-mountain cards are the 2 Valakuts. We don't have basic forest in this deck because the only way we're actually beating a Blood Moon is with the card Force of Vigor. So we don't have any green X disenchant effects like normal Scapeshift decks would. They would have Summoner's Pact into Reclamation Sage. We obviously cannot play Reclamation Sage because we're playing polymorphs. In addition to the exclusion of the basic forest, we're also not playing Field of the Dead. We can't really afford to have Field. We had it in our sideboard, but we found that cards like Boil were a lot more effective against the control decks than a Field of the Dead that you're really only getting with your Primeval Titan. If you're landing a Primeval Titan against the Planeswalker control decks, you can typically kill their walkers, put 2 Valakuts into play, and you should be able to win the game from there. So going into the sideboard, it's pretty self-explanatory. Red-green sideboard, Boil and Veil of Summer for the control decks, Weather the Storm, and then red burn spells for the creature decks, Force of Vigor for Blood Moon. The only weird card here is Wheel of Sun and Moon. Typical red-green decks like this play cards to hate the graveyard like Relic Progenitus and Grafdigger's Cage. We have indomitable creativity in our deck, so we can't exactly do that. So Wheel of Sun and Moon is the best permanent source. It says if a card be put into enchanted player's graveyard from anywhere, it's put on the bottom instead. It's just a Rest in Peace that doesn't have the enter the battlefield trigger of Rest in Peace. It's typically good enough. Against Dredge on the draw, you might be dead, but that's why you have Anger of the Gods to clean up. So as I mentioned before, a ton of people in our Discord, including myself, have been having a ton of success with this archetype. So we're going to go into some leagues and see if we're lucky enough to hit Primeval Titan when we need it, or Emrakul when we need it. Alright, so we're on the play for match 2 of Polymorph Titan. Let's see what we can do with this. Our opponent's probably going to reveal Luris. Yeah, Luris means an aggressive deck, but this hand does do the thing that we want it to do. So we are going to keep it. Has the turn 3 creativity. Let's get this done. Hopefully we can draw an untapped source for this Farseek so we can actually do shit. Plains, Vial, yeah sure, whatever. Just death and taxes. That makes sense. Hopefully our opponent just doesn't play Athalia. That would be very annoying. Yeah, Athalia, sure. That's pretty good. You have to pay 1 for this search. That's very annoying. Pay 3 for this Farseek, but that's still good enough. Next turn we actually get to creativity for 2 on both of our dwarfs, which means it plays around Path's Exile, which is still pretty decent for a turn 4. Yeah, Giver doesn't actually matter here. I don't understand what they're doing. We have this mana neutral search for tomorrow. They're fielding our Cinderglade in our upkeep. That was wrong. Now it's not mana neutral. Sick. And they didn't get a basic. They just didn't get a basic. Sure. That doesn't make sense. Now we just get to creativity both our dudes. Hopefully it's not two Emrakuls. Hopefully it's just primetime Emrakul. Jesus. Alright, yeah, sure, that works. Yeah, that's pretty decent. Alright, so against Death and Taxes, we want to think about Force of Vigor, but we definitely want these 4 cards. We're just going to bring those in, take out. On the draw, Search for Tomorrow gets really bad against like Leonin Arbiter and Thalia. So we can take out these. Think about this configuration. I think Force of Vigor is just worse than a Polymorph effect or something. They can't actually deal with an Emrakul besides like they can have like a Banishing Light effect, like a Banish Your Priest. They could Flicker Wisp it eternally. They could Eldrazi Displacer it eternally. But I think Emrakul's a good enough check where we don't want to board any out. So I think this configuration for game 2 on the draw is pretty decent. 1 landers we cannot keep. 1 landers we cannot keep. I don't know if we can actually keep this hand. It's probably fine against Death and Taxes. If we draw a Ram spell, this hand's good enough. Sure. It's really not getting that much better on a 4. So red-white Taxes, that means they have Blood Moon, which is really good against us, but not good against our Breach game plan. Seems fine. Leonin Arbiter is so good. Thankfully we have this mountain here. Oh, that's not a good draw. I feel the rune's pretty good. Copter, yeah, that doesn't. It's just a clock, I guess. Seal of Fire is broken against us. Oh my god. Not the best series of draws. I really don't like that. Yeah, that's probably game. Yeah, this is just Death and Taxes doing Death and Taxes things. Very good. We can probably just scoop it up unless we draw like... I honestly have no idea what a good series of draws here would be. They have answers for our polymorphs. They have the Thalia that we need to deal with. They have the Copter that we need to deal with, so they don't clock us as much. It's just so good here. We're an effective 9 because of these two. Yeah, we're not beating that. We get to try again. So on the play, search gets a good amount better. We can probably take out a Polymorph. I think we want to leave in these, take out an Explorer. Explorer gets a lot worse on the play. This seems fine. This hand has ramp spells and it has removal spells, so I think this hand's good enough. Like, we get bodied by Blood Moon here, but that's fine. We don't get bodied by Mags of the Moon, which I suspect they do have in their deck. Leading on Valakut feels pretty bad, but whatever. Selfless Savior, that's also very good. Oh, so is that one. Cool. So, Copter does nothing here. Another Emrakul doesn't matter as well. We could anger the Selfless Savior, but I think that's just wasting value here. It's possible we just want to bolt the Copter once it gets crewed by the Selfless Savior. Ghost Quarter. Hopefully they don't play an Arbiter. Giver of Runes. Sure. Now I think at the beginning of combat we're going to bolt the Smuggler's Copter. That's pretty free. If our opponent wants to sack the Selfless Savior to save the Copter, yeah. Now they're incentivized to play out a card like Athalia, and we just get to anger away both the Giver and whatever they play. And if we draw a land, we just get to breach Emrakul, wipe their entire board. We have 5 lands in play. Seal of Fire, yep. They have dealt with our polymorph plan, but that's not what we're going for. Land card. That is a very nice land card. We are not going to get a Dwarven Mine because of the Seal of Fire, so we're just going to get a Mountain and Breach in this Emrakul. They're probably just going to Ghost Quarter our Valakut. That's what you like to see. They just refuse to sack Seal of Fire, targeting ourselves, and Ghost Quartering our thing. That's a little strange, but sure. Alright, we're far-seeking for a Stomping Ground. We now have Mountains online for the Valakut, and we can cast a Primeval Titan if we ever draw it. Seems very good. Oh, and now they're just dead to a Mountain card. Creatures entering the battlefield don't cause abilities to trigger. Sure. Yeah, that's the match. Seems pretty good. Obviously, Death and Taxes is not the greatest matchup because they have a bunch of Leonin Arbiter, Thalia effects, but their game plan is slow enough where we're just able to outpower them, especially if we get the Nene draws of just turn 3 Deuter, or like turn 3 or 4 Breach. They just cannot deal with that. So we're on the draw for this match. Our opponent's mulligan is 6, and this hand puts a turn 3 Polymorph onto the stack with a Primeval Titan backup plan. This hand is great. So Amulet Titan can be pretty scary because if we don't get a 4th turn, which we realistically might not here, we aren't going to be able to kill our opponent quickly enough. Yeah, here we need to Farseek. Hope our opponent doesn't have the Titan, because they need Land Titan in order to start dealing us damage here. Transmuting T-West for a Titan, yeah, sure. So they're going to be able to Titan next turn. Our hope is that we hit a Emrakul off this creativity. That's the only way we're actually winning this game. If we hit Primeval Titan, that's probably not good enough, because our opponent just gets to, yeah. So here we're going to get Valakut. Yeah, we're going to get Valakut, so we can kill our opponent's Primeval Titan when they play it next turn. They're going to be able to... I don't think they can kill us from here. Oh, they can definitely kill us. They can haste up their Titan. They just get bounce land, battlements. No, they're just getting double Valakut. Sure. This is going to be a lot of damage here. Going at our face. Yeah, they have 2 more land drops to make. Yeah, that's it. Sure. So, not that great. This matchup isn't the greatest. We bring in Force of Vigors, take out a Lightning Bolt. We just want to goldfish this as quickly as possible. Emrakul's the card we care about, not really Primeval Titan. It's fine to shave Primeval Titans, but it's a very good backup plan, as you saw from that hand. If we're able to untap, we were able to do everything we wanted. So here, I like trimming on Explorers. You could consider Boil, because they have Dryad of Elysian Groves. We can just body them with Boil. But I think having the Force of Vigors and having the quick game plan is good enough. We realistically could trim like another Explorer for Boil, because we're going to be on the play. I think that's fine, but once we get to the draw, I think we want to be taking out the Boils. Forces are good against Amulet because they have the Amulets, they have Dryad. You can just 2-for-1 them a good amount of times. And we get to be on the play with this very awkward hand. It's a 1-lander, has a search, but we're not gonna keep it. If that Valakut was a mountain, we would consider it. Now this hand's a lot better. It's a turn 3 Emrakul if we hit a singular land card. It has a Force of Vigor, which I think we're actually going to bottom here. Because if our game plan is to Emrakul on turn 3, this Force isn't going to matter, because they're going to have close to no permanence in play. Because it's going to be their turn 2. Hopefully they have a start that allows them to spew cards onto the battlefield so we get as much value off this Emrakul as we can. Festiva copies Stomping Ground. Yeah, sure, whatever. Farseek putting that Stomping Ground into play. We might honestly just wait a turn on this Emrakul. It might be pretty free. Amulet's annoying. It means we might be forced to not wait a turn, depending on what our opponent plays here. Just a scout. Let's see what we draw. Primeval Titan. Okay, so because we drew Prime Time, I think it's fine to breach Emrakul here. That means we just need to hit 1 more land card and we can cast Prime Time. There's a possibility we do die if we let them untap, so I think it's fine to just breach Emrakul here. Yeah, they just concede, sure. So on the draw, we're taking back out the Boil, bringing back in the Explorer, trying it like this. Hoping we can get a slow start from our opponent, steal the game. So on the draw, this hand is not good enough. It has no ramp. Turn 5 breach is not good enough. This hand is not great. It just has an Explorer, an Emrakul. Our opponent kept 7. I don't think we're going to get better on a 5, so I think this hand's fine. We're just going to keep this bottom of the Valakut. Hope we hit a polymorph effect, and our opponent's start is slow enough for that to matter. Now, that's not the greatest draw in the world. Titan isn't bad, but it's not great. Yeah, we're going to want to hit a polymorph right now, or we're probably dead. So we drew the breach. So we have one turn to survive, and hope our opponent isn't able to get enough permanents into play to beat this Emrakul. The issue is if our opponent has another bounce land, they are able to cast Primeval Titan. Give it haste, and Prime Time puts a lot of permanents into play, which makes Breach not a good card here. Yeah, Vigilance, Haste. They're actually not going to put very many things into play here. This might be good enough. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for the land. They're going to have one permanent in play after this Emrakul. It's going to be the Primeval Titan. Which isn't actually going to matter, which is going to be pretty sick. They might be able to transmute another T-West, grab a Pact of Negation, and that basically kills us. Yeah, that one's not great. I don't think we're we're not beating that one. We can just hope our opponent doesn't Pact our Through the Breach, because this Pact of Negation is just going to beat us. Yeah, not the greatest. Having our opponent having the Teleria West in hand was pretty annoying, but not a lot you can do about that. Alright, so we're on the draw for match 4. This hand has ramp spells, it has Revolt, but it doesn't have a payoff. Because we have these 3 ramp spells, I think it's fine to keep these type of hands. We have 4 prime times and then 7 polymorph effects, so we're pretty likely to hit, especially since one of these is an Explore. If we end up hitting another land card for... If we hit like a 4th land, we're probably casting Explore instead of this Farseek on turn 2, just so we get another look at a payoff. Yeah, we're just casting this. We're just putting this Search on Suspend. Yeah, this Bloodstained Mire was a very good hit because of this Explore. It means our Explorer is able to actually hit our land cards. They just concede. Sure. That was strange. I don't know what... Maybe they accidentally fetched a Sanctuary instead of an Astrolabe? I don't actually get it. But against the Mystic Sanctuary decks, we want the Boils and we want Veil of Summers, and that's really it. So on the draw, we want to be trimming these Search for Tomorrows. So Search is bad because it gets hit by Ashiok. If you suspend it on 1, it gets hit by a turn 3 Ashiok or a turn 3 Teferi. When you're on the play, it's fine, but on the draw, it's an actual just a liability. And we also want to be taking out a singular Transmogrify. Having 1 Search is fine because you can just hardcast it and shit, but you don't want an overabundance of polymorph effects when your opponent's a removal heavy deck, which these type of decks sometimes are if it's Sultai. This hand is annoying because we need to draw a land card in order for the turn 4 Transmogrify, but I think this is fine. We're good risking it. Yeah, and that land needs to actually be a fetch land because you had to use the fetch for the turn 1 Search. Hopefully the Search doesn't get Ashioked or Teferied. That's going to be really bad. Yeah, if this gets Teferied, I'm going to be a little upset. Sure, so this is just Bant. Makes sense. They're just digging for the Teferi. Did they find it? Yeah, they did. Sure, same thing. Not great. We're going to need this Through the Breach and Transmogrify to go the miles. That sucks. Here we're just playing out the Dwarven Mine. We want to be able to boil as quickly as possible. Like, there are points where you don't want to play out your Dwarven Mines, but... Alright, what did they hit? They hit a Titan, a Veil, not a whole lot. If we hit a fetch land, we're just going for the Transmogrify, yeah. They probably took out a lot of their removal spells. Oh shit. Well, that was embarrassing. I just totally blanked on that. Alright, this game's going to be a little bit harder to win. Now that I fucked up that bad. What are they? They exiled a Dwarven Mine. We have one Dwarven Mine left in our deck. That's pretty bad. So we're pretty unlikely to naturally draw it. Yeah, sure. Alright, so because our opponent did that, we're actually able to cast this Boil. Hopefully they get an island. Yeah, we're just going to Boil here. It gives us so they have the 3 mana for whatever counterspell they want, but yeah, that was the best chance of us winning. We can probably scoop it up this game, unless we naturally draw the last Dwarven Mine in our deck. Yeah, that wasn't great. So if we draw running lands, we actually have Incept Through the Breach, Untap Breach Emrakul, which isn't the worst. Another fetch land is bad. This Ashiok's never leaving the table because we don't have Fries or Bolts in our deck. Okay, that's not bad. So we have another shot to hit a land for the Breach plan. Now the Dwarven Mine would also be very good. Yeah. We can reasonably concede at some point. Our opponent's just putting Archmage Charm on top of their deck. Yeah, alright. The issue with Breach is that like a singular Cryptic Command shuts it down because of how Cryptic Command taps down the team. So this Through the Breach won't even be able to get through 2 Cryptic Commands. So you only need 1 Cryptic. It's just not great. Yeah. Our opponent's going to be generating way too much advantage for us to deal with this. I think it's fine to pick it up here, because Primeval Titan is no longer an out because they have Ashiok. So Lightning Bolt's a consideration because of Ashiok, but I still don't think it's completely worth it. I think here we're going to take out a Transmogrify and then 2 Explorers, go like that. These searches on the play are good enough. And obviously Boil is amazing. On the play with a hand that needs a fetch land to have a shot, so I think we're going to mulligan this. We only have 2 shots to hit the fetch. Yeah, we're gonna try again. And this hand's not playable. Yeah, we have to go to 5 here. Opponent kept 7, not great. And yeah, we keep this bottoming these 2. Hope a Breach Emrakul is good enough, which it is definitely not going to be against the Force and Negation control deck. It's not a great look. Grabbing the Cinderglade because Cinderglade would come into play tapped for Stomping Ground wouldn't, and our life total doesn't really matter too much in this matchup, so it's fine. Alright, if we hit one more land, we can end step Breach, untap Breach. Another land is exactly... Yes, alright, cool. We did exactly what we needed to. So obviously we still get stocked by Counterspell and Force Negation, but that's just how it works. Force Negation's a hell of a drug. Sure, so this looks like Cryptic Command. If this is Cryptic, it beats our Breach. Alright, so another mana leak still beats our draw. But we just go for it, nonetheless. Hope this Breach is good enough. Damn. We still have a creativity in our hand for this Dwarf, but it might also still not be good enough. Our opponent's still representing Cryptic Command. You just have to go for it in spots like this. Yeah. We can still draw another through the Breach and that kills our opponent, but it's not looking great for us in this game. Alright, if this is bouncing our Dwarf, we're pretty far behind. Just Brainstorm. I guess they're looking for a Force Negation. That's fair, I guess. It means we have an out for hitting a Polymorph. And that is not a Polymorph. So I guess we're just attacking Jace. And then casting a Farseek. Yeah, if our opponent's just putting a mana leak on top, that's not great. Yeah, this one's not looking too good. Bouncer Dwarf. Yeah. So on the end step, we are going to get a Dwarf so we can attack down this Teferi. It's going to be risky because obviously Quaddle makes that play really bad, but you still have to just do it. Yeah, let's kill this Teferi. If they have Quaddle, we're just going to concede the game. That's pretty fine. Yeah, seems pretty good. Just mono counter spells. We didn't draw our Veil of Summer. Pretty unlucky. Alright, so we are on the play against my boy, 603 Leb. That's Caleb from Team Sunny Days. Alright, so this hand doesn't have a ramp piece, just turn 4 Primeval Titan. I suspect my boy's on Amulet. So this hand's not going to be good enough, so we're just going to mulligan this one. So this is also a turn 4 creativity on 6. Our opponent just mulliganed to 6-2. It's tough. I think we're actually going to keep this. It's a little risky. Since our opponent's going to 6, Amulet's 6s and 5s, although they can have the nuts, it slows them down a ton. And I don't think our 5s are getting it a lot better. So we're actually going to keep this and just bottom an Emrakul. Hope this creativity's good enough, or if we just hit a ramp spell on the top card or whatever. He just mowed the 4. It's not great, but I guess this paid off. He's going to be a little slow, and he's not going to be able to beat this creativity on turn 4. Okay, Urz's tower. So that means, you know, he's probably on Tron. That's what it seems like. So he might be able to represent Dismember for this creativity, so he might have to actually wait till turn 5 to do it. Isn't optimal. Yeah, so here we're just going to cast a Search for Tomorrow, get it online. It's a little annoying that we didn't have this earlier, but not a whole lot you can do. You might have to wait a turn to be able to creativity for multiple. If he has the Dismember, that's fine. He probably doesn't have 2 removal spells. We could also just wait a turn. Like, the punish here is like Thought-Knot. If we play a Dwarven Mine, he dismembers it, untaps Thought-Knots, takes the creativity that we didn't cast, we get punished. So I think we're just going to creativity for 2 next turn. If he plays a Thought-Knot Seer, he takes our creativity, but then we get to slam a Transmogrify. So we're fine there. Yeah, he doesn't have anything. So here we just get to get 2 dwarfs and creativity, both of them. Yeah, and he's done there. Seems about that was pretty tough to watch. So against the Tron variant, which I suspect is Tron because he showed Blast Zone, the only card we really can play is Force of Vigor. We don't want Lightning Bolts, and not a lot else we want to like take out. Our Transmogrify plan is very good. The only spot removal they have is Dismember and Spatial Contortion, which is very awkward for them. They do have Walking Ballista, which is an answer that we do have to deal with, and that's why we have Force of Vigor. It's possible we want Bolt to deal with like Karn and Ballista, but I don't think that's correct. Here, I just like trimming on Explorer. I think both Explorers are fine to take out here. We don't want to leave our green count too low, but this is fine. We need a certain amount of green cards to be able to cast our Force of Vigors. 14 is the realistic bare minimum, just like for Force of Will in Legacy. We are on the draw, and this is just a turn 4 Breached Titan, which is fine. I think that's good enough, especially if we hit another ramp spell in the top 2 cards of our deck. We get to do it on turn 3, like that one. Yeah, turn 3 Breach Titan into a second Titan is very good. We could also just creativity if we don't end up hitting another land. So he has Tron online. Alright, if we hit another land, we get to Breach a Titan. If not, we just create. Now he gets a choice of Primeval, Breach, Creativity. Hopefully he doesn't have anything else. If we draw a land card, we get to do the thing, but otherwise, this Creativity. Alright. Yeah, otherwise we're just going to cast this Creativity. Land. That's not a land. But it is, if we ever do draw a land, it's going to be pretty good. Yeah, this is a nice Dismember. If you ever draw a land, we just straight up win the game. Where's this mine? What? Yeah, okay. Those don't matter. Cool. And we are not hitting anything. So we are going to 3 here. If he has a Ballista, we're dead. If he has a Smasher, we're dead. Spatial Contortion. That kills us. That's pretty sick. We drew 2 Emrakul's on the turns we need to draw lands. Kinda gas. We are just going to submit it back like this. We don't really want to change anything. We get to be on the play for the last match, and this is a turn 3 transmogrify hand, so it's broken. We get to keep it. And our opponent has mulliganed to 5 to 4. Yeah, Tron does that. Alright, so they're just representing, it doesn't matter. You just get to explore here. If we get another fetch land, we get to double creativity. Okay, Tech Edge doesn't actually matter. Yeah, another fetch land or Dwarven Mine would be amazing. He's probably just gonna tech Edge us in our upkeep. Nope. Alright, we just get to double creativity here. If he concedes to this, I'm gonna cry. I want this so bad. Alright, so we got, what do we have? Please, Emrakul will be broken. Prime Time is also good. Yeah, I'm just gonna give him permission to concede. Seems pretty fair at this point. Alright, good game, my boy. So we're back here after the league. We went 3-2, which isn't the greatest record, but it's fine. We lost to Amulet Titan, which is pretty reasonable. The only real sideboard card we have against them is Force of Vigor. I'm not sure if you actually want to be bringing in Boil, because we already have a good amount of 4-drops that we want to be casting as quickly as possible. But we also lost to the Snow Control deck, which they have a pretty decent matchup against us. All of the ways that we cheat on mana, it's just non-creature spells which they can hit with Force and Negation. It just gets really old. But overall, I think this deck is somewhat well positioned right now. It goes under a lot of strategies, and all the fair matchups this deck has a very good matchup against. This deck also is pretty good against goblins. You have your Primeval Titan Valakut plan, which just kills their board. You're able to side into a lot of removal spells. If there's a lot of goblins in your personal metagame, you can just have more Anger of the Gods, and you should be good for that matchup. If you want to see more decks like this, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also join our Discord, which we highly suggest. It's a great community. You can also follow us on Twitter. All the links to everything there will be in the description. Thanks everyone for watching. I believe the next video will be on Modern Goblins, so stay tuned for that.